Hi, I'm Sharon Renfro. Our hearts and minds at SharonRenfro.com believes that we must open our minds before we can open our hearts to one another. A fundamental idea to an alternative way to understand the psychology of relationships. Now, this means that thinking is the key to successful, meaningfully connected relationships. Today's video applies the 3 steps of thinking to the relationship issue of having the same argument over and over and over again. Now, I'm going to talk about, very briefly, the 3 steps of thinking, but I'm going to give examples for each of those so that you understand what it is I'm talking about. The first step of thinking is to research, and that means the gathering of pertinent and objective information. So examples, number 1. Evolution provided us 3 different brain systems from which we can understand and respond to our world. 2 of these systems were designed to function and secure individual safety in physically dangerous worlds during the time of early human being. The emotional system, based on instinct, is the most ancient system, and it assesses everything the individual perceives in the relationship system at the very lowest level of self-awareness. The subjective system, that allows the sensation of feelings, provides a very simple feedback to the emotional system. So you have an emotion, you sense an emotion, and then you sense a feeling. Number 2, the emotional system has served a vital function to secure a future for the human being on the stage of evolution. Number 3, even though the relationship world has become a much safer place for most human beings, the emotional system continues its function to quickly assess individual safety or threat in relationships. The amount of information in our world has increased dramatically, and the nature of the relationship has shifted dramatically, which renders the emotional system all but useless to ensure individual maturation and long-term sustainable committed relationship success. What were adaptive strategies in a physically dangerous environment end up being actually destructive behaviors in complex relationship systems. Number 4, because the emotional system secured the safety of the individual and the species was further enhanced during required extended periods of child rearing by the evolution of feelings, these functions actually continue. Number 5, conventional psychology has encouraged us to use the gut, the lizard brain, and feelings instead of engaging more complex functions of the thinking brain. Number 6, only 4 behaviors are possible with the lizard brain to keep us safe in a threat: conflict, fight; distance, flight; pretend, camouflage; and cut off, play dead, all of which can be intensified through the experience of feelings. These 4 behaviors are meant to decrease the anxiety generated by threat perceived by the emotional system as only short-term remedies to immediate threats. No problem resolution there. The second level of thinking is reason, and that simply means the application of logic to the pertinent and objective information gathered to secure a deeper understanding. Number 1, with a short-term focus to lower anxiety to secure immediate individual safety, regardless of any concern for the relationship partner, resolution of relationship issues cannot occur simply because the actual issue is never identified. An emotional instinctual assessment based on learning during the early years of life keeps the focus anchored on the security of the individual using far too little information. Number 2, what appears to be the rehashing of old problems is actually the continued failure to identify and recognize the real issue and relationship process. Conflict, distance, pretend, and cutoff result in the sense of problem resolution because the anxiety is reduced temporarily. Without the process of thinking, we cannot get unstuck from repetitive relationship patterns. Number 3, conflict, distance, and pretend and cutoff directed at relationship partners creates more long-term serious relationship issues that cannot be resolved because we cannot understand the origin of these problems. Thinking helps us to understand how the past informs the present. Number 4, highly effective adaptive strategies applied in circumstances for which the brain system was not designed become maladaptive and exacerbate the state of threat experienced by the individual in the relationship. For example, taking time to think through a response and consider the multiple solutions can result in physical harm in a truly physically dangerous environment. But the same process in a complex situation like relationships can offer multiple solutions that make a real positive difference. Step 3 of thinking, reflection. The use of increased self-awareness to distinguish between self and other with respect, consideration, and the actual ability to express empathy. Number 1, it promotes increased self-awareness, which then allows the individual to differentiate the self from the relationship partner, a step that's necessary in order to use empathy. Number 2, when we have secured our own individual safety through thought, we are then free to deeply and genuinely consider our relationship partners. Number 3, individual safety can be attained through problem solving, being able to use massive amounts of information to expand our understanding, being able to consider various possible points of view and weigh advantages and disadvantages, generating respect and consideration of self and other, which reduces selfish and selfless behavior. And then we can actually reach real solutions that work. We must open our minds to be able to open our hearts. Now, if these ideas have been beneficial to you, please like us so that others can find us and get the help that they need. You can find additional information and extended discussion of these ideas at SharonRenfro.com on our free podcast, Our Hearts and Minds, The Psychology of Relationships. And thank you for listening.